Good morning. This is lesson 18 for Tuesday, April 14th. We are going to be looking at how to write and solve equations. So we're doing the guided practice together, and you should use this then to try to do the independent practice on your own before checking your work with the other video. So our first question says, explain why the solution to 3r equals 2 must be less than 1. So we want to make sure that we mark this. We know that it has to be less than 1. Why do we know that? Well, whenever you have a number that is next to a variable, you know that they are being multiplied together, right? So this is actually saying 3 times r equals 2. So we know we want to make that equivalent to 2. If we put a 1 here, so we would have 3 times 1. And what's 3 times 1 equal? It doesn't equal 2, does it? It equals 3. So if it was 1 or greater, if r equaled 1 or more than 1, it would make the equation false. It would not be true, it would not be balanced. Okay, so what we need to recognize is that it has to be less than 1 in order for it to be equal to 2. And that's what you would write here. I'm not writing, obviously, because writing with this pen tool is not very easy, but you can see why it has to be less than 1. So if we put in 1/2, for example, we could do 3. And they don't want you to come up with what r is. They just want you to be able to explain why r is not more than 1. So 3 times 1/2 equals 2. Again, this is not a true statement, but 3 times 1/2 is going to equal 1/2. It's going to be 3 over 2, which is 1/2. And I'll even put that over here so we're not confusing. So 3 times 1/2 is 3 over 2. So 3 over 2, 3 can be divided by 2 one time, and then I have 1/2 left. So again, this doesn't equal 2, but it's closer to 2 than 3 is, right? It's only half a point away from being 2. This is a whole point away from being 2. So as you can see, we're getting closer using a value that is less than 1. Again, for this question, we do not have to solve for what r is. They just want us to recognize why it has to be less than 1. Number 24. Use a bar model to illustrate the equation 20 minus x equals 6. Explain how you would solve the equation. So they want us to use a bar model. You've seen one of these in a previous lesson for this unit, or a previous lesson of lesson 18, I should say, as the lessons always take like a week or so to do. Okay, so 20 minus x equals 6. Well, I know that 20... Oh, no. Let's try that again. Okay. I know that my variable and my 6, so I'm gonna rewrite this first of all so that it makes more sense. So I have 20 here. And what's the opposite of subtraction? If I wanted to move this x over here, we're going to learn more about this in the next lesson, in lesson 19 and 20, but I would add addition is the opposite or the inverse of subtraction. So I'm going to add x to both sides just to make my bar model a little easier to do. Okay. I messed up on that. It shouldn't be plus 6, it should be plus x. So I added x to that side. Think of x as 1, so if I have -1 and I add 1, then it's 0 on this side. It cancels it out, basically. So on the other side, I need to also add the x. It doesn't, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to both. So now I have 20 Oh my goodness, I have not had coffee yet, and it's showing. Okay, come on. Okay, so I have 20 equals now 6 plus x, and this is an equivalent expression or equivalent equation to the original. So now that I have this, I can write my bar model pretty easily. So I know that 20 is going to be my first bar, and it's a big bar. It's by itself. It's one term. He's lonely. Alright, so this is my 20 dude. 20 is like hanging out by himself. And then we have two terms on the other side, and they're kind of hanging out, having fun. So they're going to go underneath, and there's going to be two squares to represent those two separate terms. So I know, I should have drawn that a little bit better. Let's try that again, if I can. Okay, I want it to equal, right, because this is an equal sign. I want my two terms to be equal in size to this 20 rectangle. So I should start both sides here. And then put my 6, and then the other bar, which is my variable and is unknown, goes all the way to the end of the other side of the 20, and this is x. Alright, explain how you would solve the equation. So looking at my bar model, I'm thinking, okay, if I have 20 and 6, I can find out what this guy is just by looking at this. It makes it a little easier, especially if I am more of a visual learner. I'm going to pick a different color to do this part in. So looking at 20 and 6, if I took 6 away from 20, which is what this visual is making me want to do, I can find out what that x is. So I know that 20 minus 6, well, I know that 10 minus 6 is 4, and I have 1 10 left over from the 20, that's 14. Okay, so x equals what? It equals 14. And you can think of that as like crossing this off and crossing off the amount that's left there and what's left, right? So x equals 14. So explain how you would solve the equation. Well, I would take 6 out of 20 because I want to find this unknown value, which is what's left. Write a real-world problem that you could represent with the equation 3 plus x equals 10. Solve the equation to find the answer to your problem. Okay, this one's pretty simple. So you could make up any story that you wanted for this, basically. You could say, you and a friend have a total of 10 cards. We know that you have 3 cards. How many cards does your friend have? We could say you have $3 and a friend has an unknown amount of dollars, but together you have $10. So how much does your friend have? Again, this would be really easy to come up with a situation for. You can use either one of those situations to figure this out. It doesn't matter. But we can, again, draw a bar model for this one as well, if you like those bar models. Oh my goodness, if I could learn how to draw a bar model, it'd be great, right? Okay. So we have 10 on top. Whee! Right, because 10's on its own, all by himself. He's lonely. And then we have 3. Just pretend that those line up, okay? They kind of do. And then we have x by himself over here again. Okay. Now I want to cut off this part here. So I'm going to take out, I want a different color again, right? I'm going to take out the same amount here, just like I did on the other one. I'm going to take out the 3, so I'm doing 10 minus 3. And for all of you who are not yet awake as well, 10 minus 3 equals what? That's right, 7. So x equals 7. So either my friend had $7 that we put together to make $10, or my friend had 7 cards because I only had 3 cards. Okay? Simple, simple. Alright, go ahead and try it out with your independent practice page. Come back over here when you're ready to check your work.